Hi everyone, it's Jane, and today I want to do a quick theme introduction of Mice and Men, which is a very famous novel. It was written by John Steinbeck, who is in I think 1938, and it's obviously become a very big classic. It was adapted into a movie in 1992. It's just a movie that I'm actually gonna watch tomorrow, and I'm gonna give a very I'm gonna give like a comparison video, because obviously there's things different between the movie and the book. Sometimes the book is better in some respects, in other ways the movie is better in some respects, and it's always good if we can learn from both. So that's something that I'm gonna be doing tomorrow, but today I just want to be focusing on I want to focus on the book, and I want to focus on some of the main themes in the book. Before we begin, I do want to say I am working on a few new books as well. For example, I'm working on the book Antigone. Also Romeo and Juliet, very famous play by William Shakespeare. Antigone is a very ancient Greek tragedy, and so those are two books that I'm working on right now, or like plays I guess that I'm working on right now. So those are some other videos that you should expect to come out soon. So let's dive into Mice and Men and some of the main themes. Sorry, I was just circling things. I had some notes and I was just circling some things. Okay. One of the main themes of Mice and Men is this theme of friendship, loyalty, and love. I just want to bundle all of those together because I feel that those are some of the main themes that we can see. And first, love. Who are the main characters in Of Mice and Men? They're George and they're Lennie. George and Lennie are basically brothers. While a book says and describes the situation, they're just like men who just go from like ranch to ranch, or like plantation from plantation, just helping out and getting wages, right? And it's very uncommon for these types of men to just travel together like this, right? But they're basically brothers. As in, George looks out very much for Lennie, and both are very loyal to each other and both love each other, and they're very deep friends. Now, George tries to say to Lennie, oh, if it wasn't for you, I would be living the best life. I wouldn't have to worry about you, and I would still have I would have a lot of money and all of that. But they're very close knit. As in, George would never abandon Lennie. And one situation we can see is in the, I think, like the end of chapter 1. I'm not that very good with like chapters and which chapter a part is. So I'm not very good with that, but I think around the end of chapter 1, Lennie mentions, oh, if you don't want me, George, I can just go to the hills and I can just stay there. And George, Lennie kind of has George caught, because obviously George cares a lot about Lennie, and he wouldn't want that to happen to Lennie. But basically my point here is that George cares a lot about Lennie. Both are very good friends, and they've been together through a lot. Now, Lennie is a bit different mentally than others, as in he does care about things. He kind of is like a child mentally, and so that means that George has to really I guess provide like advice to Lennie in a lot of different ways. For example, George has to say, Lennie, remember, if anything goes wrong, come back to the bush, right? There's certain directions that George gives Lennie about things. For example, Lennie, remember, when the boss talks to you, you shouldn't say anything, just in case, the boss is suspicious. And George is the person who kind of helps Lennie when Lennie was accused of committing a crime that he didn't really commit. And so these themes are very strong throughout the entire book. They stay together, they stick together. George helps Lennie through all of it, and Lennie and George, they're both propelled by a dream, which goes on to my fourth theme. But before that, yeah, they're just very deep friends. I just wanted to emphasize that. I feel that I think that it's just a really beautiful relationship and a beautiful example of just two people who really are like brothers and who work together, live together, and really care about each other. which is actually why the ending happens as it happens, but we'll get to that later. I think this book also has lots of these big themes about hope and sorrow. As in, George and Lennie are really propelled by the hope of getting to a new place, a new life. And Lennie tells George to repeat this over and over, and this like description of the place that they're gonna live in over and over. And it's basically a house, and they have corn, or I guess not corn, but like alfalfa and like crops, and they have all of these rabbits which Lennie loves, and they can do whatever they want. They can live off the land. They don't have to do anything. They don't work for anybody. If they want to go and see something, they can go see it. And George describes like when the salmon come, you can get 100. We can catch 100 salmon. We can smoke them and then eat smoked salmon for breakfast. And it's basically just a very beautiful vision. And this is what they want. And Lennie and George really love it. I love that idea, and they really work towards the idea. And it's your dream. And so, in this situation, right, as a dream, what happens is that at the end of the day, though, that doesn't come into reality, right? This is the dream that they've been working for throughout I don't know how long, but I'm pretty sure for years. And George has been describing it to Lennie countlessly, and Lennie has told him, "Oh, repeat it, tell me again." And it's a very beautiful dream, and it was a hope that they had. But at the end of the day, what happened was that Lennie, by mistake, murdered Curly's wife, right? And that leads to very big problems, obviously, because when this happens, Lennie is obviously a murderer, and he goes to hide in the bush. But that is when George realizes that all of the dreams, and George and another character, Candy, both realize that all the dreams that they worked up to are gone. As in, what happens now? The wife of the wife of the son of the boss, it's basically the daughter-in-law, has just died, has been murdered by one of the ranch hands. Obviously, that's very bad, and there's no way that after this they can keep the job, that their dreams will be funded, or right, because they need the money from the work. And even if so, now everybody knows who Lennie is, and Lennie is going to be marked as a murderer, a criminal, throughout the rest of his life. There's almost no way that this can end well, and all of their dreams have, in this moment, kind of been crushed. What happens is that at the end of the day, George goes to Lennie in the bush, and George and Lennie, and for the last time, George describes their dream house to Lennie before killing Lennie. And I think that really just represents just how much hope they had, how much sorrow George feels in that moment, how much sorrow they must all feel, and how their hopes have been in a way very, very crushed. And I think this also goes to our seventh theme, or actually our sixth theme, which is this theme of sacrifice and just of inevitability. And I think that once that happens, and once George pulls the trigger, we know that so many emotions are running through George at that moment. Pain, right? Sadness, sorrow. His dreams have been demolished, and now his brother, his friend, his best friend, is now labeled a murderer. And I think that there is a reason behind Lennie's death, as in George had a reason. As in George realized, even if Lennie is alive, all Lennie's gonna see is just torture. Either Lennie is going to be killed, or he's going to suffer for the rest of his life. because in jail or as a prisoner, and their dreams will never come true. The best way, in George's opinion, was to just kill Lennie right there. Whether or not this was the right choice is something that I think the reader should think about, but I think it definitely raises a lot of different themes. Was Lennie's death justified? Whose fault was it? Who was the person who really did it? Was it anybody's fault at all? And I think this can really go a lot of different ways. I think that Of Mice and Men is just a very good snapshot of how life is like. Life is not perfect. I think so many classics or novels in general are very, very nice. They have nice endings, right? The hero went out, there was hardship, but at the end of the day, everything turned out well. But sadly, I don't think that's how life is sometimes. I think that sometimes life just throws curveball after curveball at you, and I think that Of Mice and Men is a very powerful and powerful representation of how ordinary life can be like. Or not ordinary, obviously, but how the lives of regular people can be like. The devastation that you can sometimes feel, and I think it really just counterbalances some of the, the happy things that we see, the happy endings that we see, with these endings that really make you wonder, this wasn't justified. This shouldn't have happened, and yet it happened. And really makes you wonder, why, first of all, who did this? As in, whose fault is it really? But second, it really makes you realize how messy life is. I just wanted to give this quick overview just to cover some of the main themes found in Of Mice and Men. In the later videos, I'll be going more deeply into certain themes. I'll also be continuing my analysis of Lord of the Flies, and I'll see you next time. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I just wanted to cover some of the main themes, but obviously, again, we'll be going with more examples from the book, and that'll be next time. I hope that you really enjoyed this video, and I'm looking forward to making other videos, like the comparison video between more Lord of the Flies videos, and also some videos on other books such as Antigone and Romeo and Juliet. Lord of the Flies also has a movie version, so that's another thing that I am thinking about watching. So that's something else that you might, another comparison that you might see as well. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!